Some games you play for a little while and that's it. Some are good enough that you stick around just to see how they end. But every once in a while you come across one that just completely consumes you. That's what we are here for today. Not the games that are just popular, not the ones that got great scores from reviewers, but the ones where you are actually sitting there thinking, yeah, this is perfect game. That feeling you get when nothing else really matters while you're playing, that's what we are talking about today in this video with some of these best single-player games. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Look, being a Jedi sounds incredible on paper, but this game wastes no time reminding you that basically the entire galaxy is out to get you. You step into the shoes of Cal, a former Padawan, who's been laying low and minding his own business until that pretty much stops being an option. Early on, you're kind of a mess, honestly. Lots of scrambling around, climbing stuff, and getting absolutely humbled by things way bigger than you. But then something starts to shift. The lightsaber combat starts feeling really tight, parrying starts to click, force powers start stacking up, and before you know it, you are not just trying to survive anymore, you're actually in the control on the battlefield. And the game does this really smart thing where it keeps changing up the scenery on you before anything gets a chance to feel repetitive. Ancient ruins, wrecked environments, alien creatures, stormtroopers everywhere. It keeps rotating and it keeps things feeling fresh the whole way through. It just gets the Jedi power fantasy exactly right without just making you some unstoppable god from minute one of the game. Now, Tomb Raider 2013. Tomb Raider 2013 just drops you right into it. Lara's shipwrecked, people are hunting her down, and from basically the first minute, you are already fighting to stay alive. You are climbing stuff that feels like it's about to give out under you, squeezing through tight spots, and pushing through areas where everything just feels 1 second away from completely falling apart. And here the combat feels a little rough at first, which honestly makes sense for where she is in her story, Lara Croft, but it opens up as you go. You get access to bows, guns, different tools, and it starts giving you real option for how you just want to handle things. And what's nice is that the island itself is really well connected. You never really feel lost or like you have to mentally map out where everything is. It just flows naturally from one area to the next, and the game rarely slows down long enough for you to fully catch your breath. This is a reboot that really leans into showing who Lara was before she became who she is, and it keeps that intensity going through pretty much the whole way through. Now next, Mass Effect Trilogy. What can I even say? Mass Effect follows your crew as you travel across the galaxy, dealing with threats that just keeps getting bigger and bigger as you go. It starts out feeling pretty contained, but opens up into something way longer and larger than you expect. And the thing that really keeps it to work is the people around you. It's really the meat and potatoes of the game here. Your squad isn't just there to back you up in fights. They've got all their own personalities, their own stuff going on. And if you actually spend time with them in conversations, moments start coming out that make them feel like real characters you actually care about. You're hopping between planets, picking your assignments, getting pulled into situations that all start connecting together over time. And because your choices carry over across 3 games, familiar faces and places keep showing back up, but in ways that feel different depending on how things played out for you. And by the time you reach the end, the story genuinely feels like it was your own, like the way it went was specific to how you played it and the calls you made along the way. So just go get it if you haven't already played one of the best story-driven single-player trilogy in gaming. So next is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. So Sekiro doesn't care who you are. Doesn't matter if you've been playing action games your whole life. This game will humble you fast. The first couple hours, it's basically just pushing and punishing you for every instinct you have. You try to dodge, you die. You wait too long, you die. You panic, you're already dead. Nothing you've done in other games really translates here, and that's the whole point. But something really funny happens if you stick with it. At some point, you stop running away from fights and start to actually step into them. And those same encounters that were destroying you at the start feeling like these incredible back and forth duels where you are completely logged in. That shift is honestly one of the best feelings in gaming. The bosses are where it all comes together though. The Guardian app, Ishin, people remember these fights specifically because you can't just stumble your way through them. The game sits you down and makes you actually learn every single one of their moves, the combat. You actually have to master the mechanics, the systems here. And when you finally crack them, it really feels so rewarding and different and satisfying just from anything else out there. Like really nothing else out there that feels like this game once it gets into your head. Next game is Assassin's Creed Origins. Bayek's journey takes you across ancient Egypt, and the world they built here just feels so real and lived in. Wide open deserts, busy cities sitting along the Nile River, it all feels grounded in a way that earlier games in the series never quite managed. So his story starts out personal, like genuinely personal, but it keeps pulling you into something way bigger the further you get into it. And traveling between different parts of the map never really feels like dead time because there's always something happening out there. Little side stories, smaller conflicts going on, things that make each area feel like it has its own thing going on rather than just being empty space between missions. Now, yeah, there's a lot of that. It's a Ubisoft game after all, but we are talking about the world here. Like, really, that feeling of being lived into an immersive, beautiful open world in an old time in the history, that really calls to me personally. Like, and also you can just get to play it however the way you want. Take your time and explore or push straight ahead. It accommodates to both playstyles. And combat is a lot more direct than what older AC games were doing. It's more about your timing, where you're standing, and what gear you got on you. But honestly, the best version of this game is when you slow down and let yourself wander. The stop waiting just off the other side of your main objective is half the reason this one is worth playing. Now next is Resident Evil Requiem, the latest entry in the series, one of the best horror series since the start of the gaming almost. Like Resident Evil Requiem became the fastest selling game in the entire series for a reason. It is an easy win. From pretty early on, you're already checking every corner, listening for sounds you really don't want to be hearing, and walking into rooms that already feel wrong before anything has even happened yet. That's where most of the tension actually lives in this game. Not really just going through the monsters themselves, but that moment right before them, when you stop, wonder if you have enough ammo, and then go in anyway because you don't really have an option. Well, it's not the best survival horror series for no reason. And Grace's sections brings this panicked survival horror energy to really well in her sections that keeps you on edge constantly. And meanwhile, our boss Leon, his parts feel really sharper, nastier, and feel as things start getting worse. Together, it keeps the tone feeling heavy the whole way through. And what's kind of impressive is how good this game is at making completely ordinary actions feel genuinely stressful. Opening a door, rounding a corner, just moving through a hallway. Things that should feel simple somehow never do. That's not easy to pull off, and this game does it really well. Now next, Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima puts you on an island in the middle of a Mongol invasion, and the pacing of it is really interesting. One minute you are just riding on your horse, chilling around in this beautiful landscape, really quiet, and then suddenly you are in a fight that demands everything from you. Combat is built around timing and reading situations. Duels really slow things down and force you to actually pay attention to what your opponent is doing. Then you will get thrown into bigger encounters where you've got multiple enemies coming at you and you have to keep your head about you and not just start swinging at everything. Like, it's really not a hack and slash game like many others. I mean, it is a little if you play on the easier difficulties, but if you're playing anything above normal, yeah, you have to be careful and time your attacks right and not just be like, play it casually. The combat demands serious attention. And exploring the island is also handled differently than most open world games. It's not constantly throwing markers and menu prompts at you. The world itself kind of guides you through visual cues and just the way things are laid out. It feels more natural than you'd expect, like there's no minimap, no go here, go there, just follow the wind. And side stories are scattered all over the place and they do a good job of giving you a real sense of the people who are actually caught up in everything that's happening on the island. It adds a lot of weight to the whole thing. Everything really about how this game moves and fights just feels deliberate. Like nothing is really there by accident and every encounter and every journey across that island actually means something. Now next is Dead Space. They took Dead Space, which was already pretty unsettling, and basically said, what if we made it actually worse? And that's exactly what the remake does. The Ishimura hits different now, like genuinely walking through that ship, and this version gets under your skin in a way that's really hard to explain without, just playing the game and experiencing everything yourself. The corridors feel tighter and darker, the sounds coming from places you can't see will make you not want to round corners, and everything just has this feeling that it's aware of you somehow. Fighting anything in here is never clean. You are methodically taking things apart piece by piece, constantly watching how much ammo you have, and you know what? The moment you get anything extra, the moment you realize that, nah, this is a little too much, something will remind you very quickly that you shouldn't be thinking this ammo is enough, What also really works is that the whole ship feels like one connected place now, instead of just a bunch of separate areas stitched together. That might sound like a small thing, but it makes the whole experience feel way more suffocating. And you never really get a break. Even when nothing is actively happening, you are still tense because you never know. The situation can feel completely in a split second. That feeling never goes away the entire time you're playing this game. Now, Fallout 4, the second you walk out of the vault in Fallout 4, and it just lets you loose. No hand-holding, no waiting around, you pick a direction and you go. From there, it's kind of just whatever happens, happens. You might get into a gunfight, you might spend an hour picking through a collapsed building, looking for anything useful and debating what's actually worth carrying back. Both are equally likely, and honestly, both are equally fun in their own way. Then there's the settlement building on top of all of that, which is its own whole thing. You can pour a ridiculous amount of time into building and managing locations across the map if that's your thing, and it somehow fits right in with everything else going on. Quests are scattered everywhere, and half the time you stumble into one without even looking for it. You're just exploring and suddenly you're involved in something you had no intention of getting into. That's really what this game is. It's not one thing. On any given session, you might be building, fighting, scavenging, or just wandering around seeing what's out there, and somehow all of that just works together and keeps pulling you back in. Now, next game is Devil May Cry 5. Devil May Cry 5 takes about 5 minutes to make it very clear what kind of game it is. This is not asking you to be careful or measured or strategic. It wants you to be loud, flashy, and completely over the top. Beating the enemy is fine, but that's honestly the bare minimum. The real goal is making it look ridiculous while you do it. That's really what this game is all about. And the 3 characters are a big reason why it works so well. Nero is a straightforward and gets in your face. Dante is basically a whole game onto himself with how much he has going on, and then V just completely changes the energy. He hangs back and turns fights into something way stranger than anything else in the game. The thing is, the better you get at it, the more fun it becomes. Combos get longer, swapping between weapons start feeling smooth and instead of clunky, and fights that look like complete chaos starts to actually flowing in the way you want them to be. You can feel yourself improving, and that improvement shows up in real time in how everything looks and feels. That's really the whole appeal, really. It gives you a ton of room to grow and then makes sure that growth actually looks cool, which is kind of the most DMC thing imaginable. Next is Dishonored. Dishonored 1, really, because I replayed it recently, so why not just go with the start. So Dishonored hands you a target, gives you a mask, and it just steps back and lets you figure it out however you want. You can ghost the whole thing perfectly, never seen by anyone, and completely silently the whole way through, just play it, get it over with. Or you can have one small thing go wrong, and suddenly you're flying across rooftops with half the city's guards absolutely losing it behind you on your ass. And both of those feel really, really intuitive, and nothing feels the wrong way to play it through. It's like both of those feel equally like something you intended to do. That looseness is really what the fun lives. You're peeking through a keyhole 1 second, and then you find some back entrance that cuts out half the level, and then you realize there was actually a completely different way in that you missed entirely. The game is full of that stuff. The powers make it even worse in that best way. Blink gets your places you probably shouldn't be able to reach. Possession opens up options that makes no sense. And at some point, you're just trying something because you want to see if it actually works. Nobody really goes into a mission in Dishonored with a plan and sticks to it. You make a plan, something immediately goes sideways, you improvise the whole rest of it, and somehow you walk out the other side having pulled it off anyway. That's the kind of how this game goes, and it never really gets old. Now next I want to talk about one of the best, well, not the best, but actually really good open world game in recent memory, Hogwarts Legacy. It knows exactly why you're in there. It's not the main story that's really intriguing, not the big villain. It's just the fact that you finally get to actually walk around Hogwarts and feel like you belong there. And honestly, the game completely delivers on that front. That's what we really all wanted, you know. The first several hours are basically just a fantasy field trip, and they are great for it. You are learning spells, sneaking into areas you definitely shouldn't be in, opening doors that lead you to more doors, and stopping every 5 minutes because something in the castle caught your eye. That happens constantly, and you never really get annoyed by it. Like, because Hogwarts itself is the whole event, you know, staircases that actually move, portraits that talk to you, little secrets hiding in corners. You almost walk past, ghosts wandering around like they lived there forever because they have. The castle feels genuinely alive, and just being in it is enough to keep you going for a long time. And the game stays fun once you head out in the wider world too, but that's kind of besides the point. Everyone came for Hogwarts, and people who made this game clearly knew that from day one, so they made sure it actually delivered. Now, Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. Afghanistan in MGS5 is this vast, empty stretch of dust and silence with little outposts dotted around that you spot from a distance, and your brain just immediately starts working. So you crawl up somewhere high, pull out the binoculars, and before you know it, you got this whole elaborate thing mapped out in your head. Who's there? When they move. How you're getting in, how you're getting out. It feels airtight. Then you actually start doing it and something goes slightly wrong, and then you just have to start making stuff up, start making your plan as you go through it. And that gap between the plan you had and what actually ends up happening is genuinely where this game is at its best. It's not trying to impress you with what's on screen, it's giving you this massive sandbox and just watching what you do with it. Take out one guy in the wrong order and the whole mood of a base shifts. Kill a light source and suddenly everything feels different. Small decisions ripple outward in ways you didn't see coming. Most games react to you finishing objectives. This one really reacts to how you think. And when your thinking starts unraveling mid-sessions and you have to scramble, that's honestly when it becomes something really special. Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition. Sleeping Dogs doesn't get nearly enough credit, and a big reason for that is Hong Kong itself. The city just has this energy that's hard to put into words. Neon everywhere, night markets packed with people, these tiny cramped apartments blocks stacked on top of each other, back alleys that feel genuinely lived in. Before you even get into a single fight, the place already has you. Wei Shan is undercover trying to take down the triads from the inside, and uncomfortable part is watching how that line between cop and criminal gets blurrier the longer the game goes on. That's where the story actually gets interesting. What's funny is how casually the game switches gears on you. You'll spend a mission doing karaoke or showing up to somebody's wedding, and then 20 minutes later you are in this grimy back alleyway just cracking someone's head against a wall, trying not to say the wrong thing and blow everything. It doesn't ease you between those two worlds, it just throws you in. But the fighting is honestly what people should talk about more. It's not punching, you're countering, grabbing people, and then your eyes are already drifting to whatever's in the environment around you. A railing, a dumpster, a fish tank. Your brain starts doing this thing where you're just looking at an old guy and already thinking about where exactly he's going to end up. That part never really gets old.